Hi, welcome to the Gear Garage. My name is Zach. This is my little internet show about whitewater stuff. And in this episode, I'm going to attempt to talk about rigging a gearboat. And the reason I say attempt is that there's a lot of ways to do this. There's a lot of opinions. I'm going to show you what we do for our commercial trips, and hopefully there's some tips and tricks for what you do. But everybody has different size rafts and frames, and there's different ways to do things, and so I'm just going to give you my thoughts. But before I get started, please remember to subscribe. Just go down to the subscribe button, smash the subscribe button. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. That way more people see it, and I think this is valuable content personally, but that's my ego talking, and if you do too, please give us a thumbs up, and of course I appreciate the subscribes. So this is an 18-foot gearboat. This is what we use for the Rogue in the middle fork of the Salmon typically. And this frame is a 4-bay frame. So 4 bays means there's like one bay here for like a cooler. You could put boxes here, whatever. This is what you sit on. So cooler, a spot for your feet, another spot for boxes or a cooler, and up front I call it a hatch. And in the hatch, I'll talk about in a minute, where we just throw stuff and cover it with something. But first of all, let's talk about rigging your frame onto your boat. This is one reason it's nice to have a lot of D-rings on a boat. So you have a lot of options for rigging it down. And so what I do is I just take a cam strap, the handy cam strap, and I go through the buckle or through the D-ring first. And my goal is to have the buckle so that I can pull it tight from the boat. So if for some reason it comes loose, I can grab it and pull it tight. I've never had to do that, but I like the visual of it personally. Some people like to wrap it around the D-ring a bunch, or tie a knot around the D-ring. I don't like doing that because I have to untie that later. And it makes the cam strap weaker because it's forced to make some turns. And so I would personally avoid any kind of knot here, but again, do what you want to do. What I'll do instead is wrap it around the tube, and because the tube is high diameter, you know, it doesn't weaken the cam strap as much to do a wrap. So I personally just do one wrap around the tube. That creates some nice friction, it keeps it in place, and then I come down to the cam strap, and I try to get the buckle as close as I can to the D-ring so I can pull it tight and have it down there for tightness. Again, having it here so I can grab it and tighten it, I think it's just kind of a nice thing. And you want to minimize any extra rope, so if you have extra rope, you want to try to daisy chain it or do something just for safety. And so just a little daisy chain here or whatever you want to do, just to not have extra strap that you could get your wrist caught in or whatever. And on this frame I have 3 tie downs. That's sort of a minimum number to me. You know, that's saying, hey, my frame's tight, it's not going to move. But if you flip and one of these breaks, the frame might go down into the water a bunch. And the frame is steel, the stuff on the frame is heavy. Cam straps do break, and so also if you flip, it'll move around to be a mess. So I'm a big fan of having a third, just extra tie down somewhere in the middle. As many places as you can tie down, the better. Again, if you're doing something easy, it's like class 2, you're super confident, you're not gonna flip or have problems, you know, you can do the minimum number of corners. But if you're running any harder whitewater where flipping's a possibility, wrapping's a possibility, you definitely want extra tie down. So there's another one. I wish I had another cam strap or another buckle here, but our logo is here, so I don't have a buckle here, but that would give me more tie down, again, in case I have some sort of problem. So that's tying the frame down. Also, we usually bring a spare oar with us, and there's a lot of ways to tie down a spare oar. I'm gonna choose to do mine blade forward, mainly because I just like the aesthetic. Some people like the blade the back because they feel like they hit a rock, they'll bash up the blade. That's your call. I like the aesthetic of it, and there's a lot of ways to do this for quick access. I'm gonna choose just to use a short cam strap because it's easy, it's straightforward, and I'll put a cam strap around here. And if I'm doing, again, like pretty straightforward water, I'm pretty happy with this. Maybe have it hang a little bit. It's up to you. You can make it straight tight to the frame. But a couple of cam straps, well distanced so that the oar doesn't move around. And so taking your time. There's some really fancy things you can do with cam straps. For like class 5, I'm not going to talk about that, but you want it pretty secure. You don't want it to be able to move too much. That's decent. I probably wish I put this cam strap further down, actually. I probably would retie this in the case of this being like, I'm going to go in the water. Again, that's what I do. There's a lot of tricks for tying under spare. Also, what we do for oar leashes, this piece of rope here, is that we just have a piece of hoopy, and to tie the oar on, we just go to a bowline right here, and it goes on pretty quick. And I'm a big fan of this. Rope is cheap, knots are easy. You don't have to buy some fancy thing to do it. And if your fancy thing breaks, you can always have rope as an option. So that's tying on your spare. Now let's talk about the rigging setup. I personally am a fan of sitting on the cooler. Whatever you want to do is cool. We do over the top of the cooler, you want a strap. And I really like using loop straps. So a loop strap is just like a strap with a loop in the end. And what that allows you to do is go around your frame and have a permanently attached strap. And so on this frame, we have that for this end with a cam buckle and this end with a strap. And you can buy these from NRS, they make them, they're called loop straps. And that way when you put your cooler in, you just go right here, ready to go. And so I usually do 2 of those on top, 2 of them under the cooler, and that holds it in place. The one thing about this buckle placement is I might be sitting here. And so it's not the most comfortable buckle placement, so you want to think about where your buckle ends up. So that ties in the cooler. Again, you can sit on a cooler here or you can sit on boxes, whatever you choose. We choose to sit on coolers, and then this thing here is, we call it a hatch, or I don't know, foot well or whatever, but it's a piece of wood. We sit down here and we hang it from the frame. And so I have a bunch of cam straps. I'm not gonna spend a bunch of time tying it in, but I'll attach the 6 cam straps to the frame. It's gonna raise it above the floor a little bit. And you don't have to do this, but the nice thing about this hatch, I think it's called a hatch, a foot, whatever it's called. The nice thing is it gives you a firm surface to stand on if you want to. You can rig things here. We can rig a groover here. We can rig an extra box here, ammo cans, so you can, metal things don't sit on the floor, so it protects the floor. And because it hangs from the frame, the weight goes on the tubes. And so instead of having, the floor can maybe go over shallow rocks if it needs to. So instead of having weight on the floor itself, it spreads the weight out over the tubes. It's a nice thing. I use it sometimes. I don't always use it, but it's just one more thing. And you can just make this out of a piece of plywood. So you can, cut the plywood your size, drill some holes. It helps to have a round over bit to kind of like make the edges not sharp. But you can make your own little thing here. And then in front of us, we put boxes. So you could have one big dry box or whatever. We have these old military boxes like this, and we put 4 of them across. And these are nice for, like, a lot of small boxes is nice for organization, like, night 1 dinner, night 2 dinner, night 3 dinner, night 4 dinner, or, you can break things up really nice. It's less efficient space-wise and weight-wise to have a lot of boxes, but it sure is nice for organization. And we tie these down typically on a typical class 3 regular rug float, regular bottom middle fork. We just put a strap between the handle and the frame. And if you wrap or flip, you're gonna have a mess to clean up later on, but it works. If it's a high water middle fork trip or an Illinois trip, I'll throw a strap over the top of this, maybe 2, and I'll do straps on this end as well, just to make sure stuff is solid, because a flip is potentially more possible, and you want this thing of stuff locked down. So those are the boxes. And then in the 4th bay of the frame, people typically do a drop hatch. And what this is just a bag you can throw stuff in. So we'll throw our stove in here, our blaster, just random small things that are hard to rig. And you can just put things in here and then cover them with what we call a hatch cover. And you can call this whatever you want. This is just a piece of wood that covers this. This could also be a table. And typically we have tables here, which is really nice. So your table fits nicely. You can put a pocket pad over the top and make it just really comfy. But again, it's a nice place just to throw things. You want this tied down really well. You don't want to just kind of tie this down, because you have stuff loose in here, and if you have an issue, you don't want stuff to kind of make its way out. So what I do is I tie this down, I'm going to say like a kayak. Tie it down like a kayak. So I'll take a strap, I'll go around the bar, over the top of this thing, through another bar, and and then back over to itself. And this is how kayakers tie kayaks onto the racks. And it's a pretty bomber way to tie things down. So when I need to tie things down well, I'll say like a kayak, and that just means this kind of method. So it's not just like one strap, it's two strap from bar to bar holding it down. And that works pretty well. If it's high water, I'm gonna go through a hole on this thing too to make sure this thing stays in place. Again, there's things in here you don't want to lose, so you want to tie down really well. Here's the second strap. I would do the same tie down on this side over here. This hatch cover we also have drilled holes in, if you can look at it. And we have these if we need to use this as a backboard. So this is a backup backboard. They're not perfectly drilled where you'd want them, but they're good in case you had to tie somebody down to this board and transport them. So it's a good idea to have this thing that's dual purpose. It's nice to have on trips. You could put this hatch cover down and the table. That way you have when people are using the table, you have a place to sleep if you want to sleep on your boat, and you also still have a backboard for somebody. So that's the basics of the boat. Once it's tied in, so again, the way that we'll run is, sitting on the cooler. I'll have some random stuff rigged here. The box is in front of me. That nice platform up there with a pocket pad typically. And I might put a bag or something here, a couple bags here, so people can lean up against them. And so that's the main boat. Next is tying in bags, which is its own art form. And let's go to the back of the boat to talk about tying in bags. All right, so here we are on the stern of the boat. We typically tie bags in the stern because there's people up front, but you can do it in the bow and the stern if you want to. Also, a stack of bags makes a nice backrest for the rower, which is really nice. And I like to rig for a flip, right? I've always said if I flip, I want people to say, man, it's a bummer Zach flipped, but boy, his stuff was tied in well. You don't want bags hanging off everywhere, and that means tying stuff down really tight and using multiple attachment points. So I personally love using webbing. I find on an 18-foot boat, 12-foot sections of, this is a 1/2-inch tubular webbing, work great. This 1/2-inch tubular webbing is stronger than a cam strap. So it's for strength, even though it's smaller, it's great, and it's super easy to work with. I tie down with a slip bowline. This is not a knot class, but basically it's a bowline with you put a bite through at the end. And so even under pressure, if I pull this, even under tension, if I pull this, it'll come undone, which is super nice. And I'll just take it, and my goal here is to try to get through every bag 2 different places, right? Bags have handles and side things and D-rings. My goal is to put it through 2 different things on every bag, backpack straps. And I just take this webbing and I snake my way through all the bags and I'm trying to get through 2 things. If there's a buckle, I kind of count that as like half of a thing. I try to go through 2 solid attachments, and I pull this through all these attachment points and go through this backpack strap and over this handle and through this handle and this backpack strap. And I can really, with webbing just moves smooth, especially tubular webbing, moves smoothly through everything. Where cam straps get a little bound, I can really get this tight. And then I'll do over here a trucker's hitch. Again, this is a knot class, but if you don't know how to tie knots, a trucker's hitch is pretty awesome. It's basically a knot that's a 3-to-1. And so, again, I know 12 feet is the length I want here, so it's perfect. And I can really yard this down because a trucker's hitch is 3-to-1. And there you go. I have these tied down basically. Now this is kind of tied down. If this flipped, stuff would go all over the place. And so I'm a big fan of rigging for a flip, doing a second set of straps through this stuff so it's super bomber. That way if this breaks or whatever happens, you have something else. I'll show you how I do it with cam straps. It's also nice to use different D-rings for the second one. So I'm gonna go from this D-ring to that D-ring. And this is where having a gear boat with a lot of D-rings is really nice. If your gear boat only has a few D-rings, you're very limited. And I'm a fan of using a lot of like 4 and 6 foot straps. A 20-foot strap seems to make sense here, but it's a terrible idea. There should be no straps that exist longer than 9 feet. That's a strong opinion that I have. Because once you have it done, you only have, with what 20-footer, you have 1 place to tighten it. Where the 6-footers, there's multiple places to tighten it, and they're more versatile than just like one 20-foot strap. You have 4 6-foot straps, you can get a lot more done. So enough about that rant. So I'll tie bags the same way down like a kayak. I'm gonna start here, go over here, and then back to this attachment point. So I'll go again, I'll try to go through 2 things on every bag. And I'm trying to catch them all, right? This is just like a backup. Put a second cam strap on there. See, it wasn't that hard to use a second cam strap. And I'll come over here and I'll catch this bag. I'm only catching them once right now just to save time on this video. But once is fine, twice is better. I'll go through here and then I'll grab another 6-footer. Right, and I'll come back, and again, I'll try to catch, now I'm catching these bags the second time in different spots, so I have 2 attachments to every bag. Again, having bags that have a lot of straps on them, these straps are potential like hand entrapments, so they're like not awesome for that, but they're great for tying the stuff in. And I'll need one more 6-foot strap, a 4-foot strap would do here. Attach this 4-foot strap on the way back from that D-ring. Go through here, down to this cam strap, and then tie this on. Or clip it. Right. So now if this was a 20-footer and I'm only pulling on this one strap, the friction from the cam strap is going to keep it from getting super tight. Where now I have multiple places I can tighten down from. Come over here. Even though those were tight, there's still a lot over here that can be tightened. There's a lot of slack. So using my different cam buckles that I put in this system, I have multiple tight places. This is now bomber. This is not going anywhere. Again, I did it once with just hoopy across, the hoopy method, and once with cam straps. You could do 2 hoopies or 2 cam straps or 1 of each. Whatever you want to do is cool. I would say is rig the flip. This is pretty bomber, and if this flipped, these bad boys would stay in place. Now, once you have these in place, you can put bags on top of these. And for that method, I like to put the bags on their sides, like this, with the bottoms to the rower, so all the straps are away from the rower. That way, if a rower, there's less hand entrapment possibility. All the hand entrapment stuff is over here, not by where the person rowing is. And I'll make a stack of bags like this. And then I have this nice backrest for the rower. And I'm going to do the same thing, pretty much. I'm going to go with this same D-ring again. I like hoopy for this. Again, tie my slip bowline right here. Again, this could be cam straps. You could tie it down like a kayak using cam straps. But with the hoopy, it's just, again, it's more supple, it's easier to use. It slides through things easier. I'm going to go through straps, and more straps. This one, sometimes halfway through, I'll go down to a strap down here and back up. So these 2 can be just tightened really nicely down. And then again, I'm going to go through more straps over the top, through these, down to this D-ring again. And I'll do a trucker's hitch on this side to get it super tight. Again, a trucker's hitch is nice because it's a 3-to-1. And that's down pretty good. And so this, to me, works really well. Again, I like putting it down to like the straps below here, tighten these 2 really well, and these 2 really well, so the whole thing doesn't move. And again, if you want to rig the flip, I would do one more. I'd probably go from this D-ring, or maybe even this D-ring, because I've used this D-ring over to a D-ring over there. It's just really 2 sets of ropes through everything. Makes it super tight. Again, if I'm doing like a river I'm super comfortable on, I'll just do the 1 strap. You know, I'm probably not going to flip, but if I'm doing like high water, Middle Fork, Tuolumne River, Illinois, I'm going to run that second strap over the top and it's going to be solid. So that's tying in bags. There's a lot more to it. I know a lot of you have more experience with this. This is just the basics. This is what I do. There's some other really cool spider web methods and all kinds of stuff. I'm not a fan of danger nets. I'm a fan of using hoopy like this or cam straps. But that's my thinking. And that's my thinking on rigging a gearboat. As always, if you have questions, thoughts, things to add, please ask them. I may have just missed something because it's a lot of stuff to cover in one video. Please ask questions, and those of you with a lot more experience and ideas, add to the conversation. I super appreciate it. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, see you in the next episode. Thanks.